So I talked to two CIA officers who said that this is a part of a larger hoax. What they're doing here is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen. It's straight out of the CIA playbook. It's a destabilization operation.
I think normally they think they can get away with comments like this until they face a guy named President Donald Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh boy, I never thought I'd say this, but is the United States about to face a color revolution? Jesse Waters on Fox News. I mean, this was absolutely mind-blowing to me. I don't even know what to think. He said he spoke to two CIA officers who said that this was a part of a larger hoax. Here, let me read to you. He said it's part of a larger hoax, and what they're doing is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen at the hands of Donald Trump. So when I think about this, what runs through my mind is a couple things. Of course, if the CIA is involved, I think of regime change. This is like the bread and butter. You know, Ukraine, these other countries, this is what they do. And then along with that, guys, of course, is false flags. So are we about to see a series of false flags? Is something going to happen that they are going to blame on Donald Trump? And this is simply the precursor to that, kind of conditioning the minds of our men and women in uniform and in the intelligence community that when they see this thing, for them to resist. Guys, I do not like the sound of this. This leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but take a listen to what Jesse Waters had to say.
I sort of wanted her to keep talking. I mean, what foolishness. This is a woman who won a year ago by 0.3 of a percentage point in Michigan, by 19,000 votes out of 5 million cast. And she speaks like this: I want the people of Michigan, Arizona to know their senators are interested in sound bites and social media screeds rather than facts and figures.
So I talked to two CIA officers who said that this is a part of a larger hoax. And what they're doing here is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen at the hands of Donald Trump. It's straight out of the CIA playbook. It's a destabilization operation where you get people to mistrust each other. And you do this because she's an analyst. And as an analyst, she would make sure what propaganda operations were successful, which ones weren't. So she knows what works. So the first part of the video, you establish authority. I'm CIA, I'm military, you need to trust us. Second part of the video, they introduce the threat. And the threat's not foreign, the threat's domestic, the threat's Donald Trump. And then at the end, they introduce the solution. What's the solution? You resist, you say no. But they don't give an option. They say this is an obligation for you to do. Now, she is being run because she didn't come up with this herself. She's a Brennan acolyte, and you usually don't have congressmen and senators doing anything together. They kind of hate each other. So in order to organize this had to have had some sort of handler telling her what to do. And it was risky because nothing like this has ever been done in the history of the country. And you can even tell because the media was skeptical and they couldn't answer the question. So they hadn't even been read in on the operation. You see them fumbling and stumbling. And I'm glad that the U.S. military is now investigating this guy, Kelly, because this is what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. You can't have the deep state interfering with a duly elected presidency and get away with it. You got to draw the line in the sand and you have to make examples out of people.
See, one thing that Jesse Waters said there is one thing that I noticed right away. I found it very odd that the media, they didn't have talking points ready. They were asking these senators, hey, you came out with this video. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but you came out with this odd video saying that Donald Trump was issuing illegal orders or basically implying that. Can you tell us illegal orders that Trump has issued? And usually they'd be a lot more prepared than that, but they weren't. And I think, just like what Jesse Waters said, this is unprecedented. This is not something we've seen before. And I'm not one to really know what a CIA op looks like. I just know something just seems off. Something just does not seem like it's an everyday thing. You know, something just in my brain, I can see these things and they just don't click. You know, these things don't just come out of nowhere. You don't just have 6 senators just decide, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to say this. We're going to make this video and we're going to call out Donald Trump and we're going to encourage these men and women of our military to disobey illegal orders when at the same time there is not one single illegal order that they can point to. I know that that is not normal, okay? So if that is a CIA op, you know, I believe it. I absolutely believe it. But it's weird how the media, it's almost like they wanted some meat, right? They wanted something from these senators to run with so they can attack Donald Trump on, because they're a little bit standoffish now because Donald Trump is going after media companies for absolutely lying about him and what he's doing. I mean, the BBC, he sued for billions of dollars. He settled with several other news organizations. So they're not quite as quick to throw out lies about Donald Trump. So it was like they were intrigued by what was happening. They probably wanted to run with something, but the senators, the Seditious Six, had nothing to go on because that's not the point. The point was to plant this idea into military members' heads, because there are crazies in every group, is to plant an idea that what Donald Trump is doing is illegal. And that is the precursor to some of this crazy stuff, guys. I mean, this was put out by Data Republican. She said this was in response to J.D. Vance, who retweeted this video of Alyssa Slotkin admitting that she lied about President Trump issuing illegal orders, where J.D. Vance said, if the president hasn't issued illegal orders, the members of Congress telling the military to defy the president is by definition illegal. And this is what Data Republican had to say, and this is bone chilling. Data Republican said, in response to J.D. Vance, she said, it's quite literally a color revolution. The democracy playbook, people like Norm Eisen or Gene Sharp don't like breaking it out into explicit stages because it implies that color revolutions aren't organic. So I had to assemble it from scratch using their own writing. Here are the steps, and they're trying to do September 6th, or step 6, September 6th. Step 6. Okay, let's read these steps and see if they fit. The point is not whether Milsevec deserved removal. What matters is that the bulldozer revolution locked in a repeatable sequence that later color revolutions would follow. The method could be condensed into a handful of stages. So let's go through these. Pre-election conditioning. Build civic networks, media outlets, youth movements, polling capacity, and legal infrastructure through foreign-assisted NGOs. Election day monitoring. Deploy domestic and foreign observers, run parallel vote tabulations and exit polls. Discrepancy identification. Frame official results as illegitimate if they diverge from the parallel count. Counter elite activation. Support opposition leaders who call for mass protests, strikes, and civil disobedience. We have seen a lot of that. We have seen a lot of pushback against these ICE agents. We have seen the No Kings protests, which we all know there is no way in hell that those are organic whatsoever. So that is simply, that seems like it's a cog in this whole machine that is being put into motion by ostensibly the CIA or some faction of the CIA through people like Alyssa Slotkin and these Seditious Six. International amplification. Ensure foreign media, NGOs, and governments all declare solidarity with the opposition and question the incumbents' legitimacy. I think you already see some of this too, where you have people calling on the Pope to condemn Donald Trump's his kicking out illegal immigrants from the United States and his quote unquote bad treatment of immigrants into our country, as if the Pope should have some say in how we live in the United States. I know he's from Chicago, but, I think we have all come to the conclusion that when we have illegal immigrants, millions upon millions of them flood into our country, I think all Americans, or the vast majority of us, have come to the conclusion that this is bad for our country, for our culture. We don't like living in a neighborhood where it doesn't feel like America anymore. We want to live in a neighborhood that feels like home. We want to live in a society that feels like home. And they just overflooded us with illegal immigrants. They allowed it to happen, and now they are suffering the blowback. You can't just allow millions of people into a country and expect the residents of that country to accept that. When their whole town and cities change and become unrecognizable, it doesn't feel like home to real Americans. And they are trying to say, oh, it's so horrible how Donald Trump is treating these poor immigrants. Listen, you've used all of our sympathy up We don't have any more sympathy or empathy or whatever it is. We don't have any of that left. These people must go. Number 6, security service fracture, organized defections among police, military, or intelligence to eliminate the regime enforcement capability. So that is directly referencing what they are doing there. Security service fracture. And then transfer of authority insists the incumbent concede or be forced out. The counter elite then assumes office with immediate diplomatic recognition and donor backing. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's some scary stuff. And, I tend to agree with a lot of people who say if Democrats get in power again, it's all over. Trump is going to be impeached again, and the hammer is going to come down like we've never seen before. And it's going to be some scary stuff. Everything that the Democrats were telling the American people that Donald Trump was going to do to them, all these illegal things, apparently Donald Trump is a Nazi and he's a criminal and he's going to go crazy and weaponize the Justice Department. Nope. That is what they are going to do to Republicans. Steve Bannon, he said this just a couple weeks ago. He said, if the Democrats get in power again, he said, I'm going to jail. He said, I'm not going to be the only one. I can see a lot in the audience who's going to go to jail too. And for what? For speaking out against this machine that is operating illegally and exposing corruption. It's very scary stuff. And I wish I could look into the future and see what's going to happen because I don't know. But this is the latest from Pete Hegseth on the situation. He had tweeted out this just this morning. He said, the despicable video urging Department of War troops to refuse legal orders may seem harmless to civilians, but it carries a different weight inside the military. And he's tweeting this out in response to some of the stuff that has been coming out about Senator Mark Kelly. He is calling on Senator Mark Kelly to be investigated and court-martialed. And people are like, whoa, you can't do that. I can't believe you're weaponizing the justice system to go after a sitting senator. Oh, my God. And everyone's like reeling from this, like this is so crazy. But Pete Hegseth explains it perfectly here. He said this was a politically motivated influence operation. And then he has 4 check marks here. He says, check mark. It never named specific illegal order, a specific illegal order. That's correct. It insinuated in the video that Trump was issuing illegal orders. They all read off their ranks and what they did. They asserted some sort of authority. And then they said, you have to disobey unlawful orders. Like, what are you talking about? So what are you referring to? This just doesn't come out of nowhere. Number 2, it created ambiguity rather than clarity. Number 3, it used carefully scripted legal sounding language. And number 4, it subtly reframed military obedience around partisan distrust instead of establishing legal processes. And he goes on to say, in the military, vague rhetoric and ambiguity undermines trust, creates hesitation in the chain of command, and erodes cohesion. The military already has clear procedures for handling unlawful orders. It does not need political actors injecting doubt into an already clear chain of command. As veterans of various sorts, the Seditious Six knew exactly what they were doing, sowing doubt through a politically motivated influence operation. The Department of War won't fall for it or stand for it. And this is part of a larger back and forth between Pete Hegseth and now Ruben Gallego, senator from Arizona, is trying to come to the defense of Mark Kelly. And he's promising legal retaliation against Pete Hegseth, and listen, guys, I don't really like making fun of someone and how they talk, but this guy just does not seem to have the backbone. This guy seems to be, a Nepo baby, He just seems kind of soft, like a soft Democrat. I know that he is evil, and we can't underestimate this Ruben Gallego fellow because I think he does have some connections to the cartels in some way, shape, or form. But the guy clearly doesn't have a lot of experience in front of the camera because he does not sound menacing at all. But this is what Ruben Gallego had to say, saying that he was going to do some legal action against Pete Hegseth for threatening to court-martial Mark Kelly. Take a listen.
Into Senator Kelly. What is your level of trust in the U.S. military justice system if it were to get that far? to handle this?
I trust them actually a lot, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, these are professionals. They are also swearing to the Constitution of the United States. They know that there will be fallout and consequences if they are used in a hard way to basically railroad someone like Senator Kelly, because Donald Trump's going to be gone a couple of years. And if you're part of the military that is going after sitting senators, sitting members of Congress, and part of, the weaponization of government, there will be consequences, without a doubt. So, I think there's going to be a lot of officers that are be part of this, potential tribunal, if they want to call it that. They're going to be looking over their shoulders because they know that Donald Trump will be gone and they will not have that protection. They're going to have to do the safest thing possible, which is follow the Constitution of the United States, and you'll be fine.
So wait. What is he saying here? Is he issuing a veiled threat telling military personnel, if you follow the orders that you are given, if you do that, when Donald Trump's out of office and if we are in office, there will be consequences? Is that what I'm getting from what he said? Guys, that is scary stuff, even though, he had about a million ums and uhs in there, and that kind of shows this is not coming from Ruben Gallego. These people are not acting independently. These people, like Jesse Waters said, this is coming from a centralized source where they have like this script, and then they have the actors, and they go, okay, and scene, and cut. All right, you go on CNN, you go on MSNBC. Alyssa Slotkin, you go out there and you lead this thing saying that military members should disobey unlawful orders. Mark Kelly, you do X, Y, and Z. And they have all the scenes, all the acts put in place. And all of these Democrat actors go out there on the different programs. And some of them are good actors. And some of them, like Ruben Gallego, are horrible actors. He sounds like the kid that goes like, my dad's going to beat you up. And my dad can beat up your dad. Something like that. The guy, come on, guys. The guy is just... I don't know what to say about Ruben Gallego. He's kind of laughable. If I didn't realize or I didn't know how dangerous he was and the people he is associated with, I would never, ever take that guy seriously. Pete Hegseth also went after Senator Mark Kelly for something interesting. And then we have an analysis of this, what it really meant. I thought this was very interesting, this whole exchange between Pete Hegseth and Senator Mark Kelly. So Mark Kelly, he posted this tweet along with a picture of these medals in this ribbon rack of his time in service, when he was in service to the military. And for those of you who are watching that are in the military, tell me, what do you think? What looks wrong here? What looks out of place? Because I've seen some analysis from a couple people that said there was a reason why he posted this photo the way he did. Now, I wasn't in the military. I've never been in the military. My dad was in the military. So I don't know what is odd about this. Mark Kelly posted this and he wrote this little blurb, this tweet, talking about it and basically trying to defend himself, talking about how patriotic he is. And then Pete Hegseth retweeted this and he said this. He said, so, and in quotes, Captain Kelly, not only did your sedition video intentionally undercut good order and discipline, but you can't even display your uniform correctly. Your medals are out of order and rows reversed. When/if you are recalled to active duty, it'll start with a uniform inspection. So apparently, all of this stuff is backwards. And I saw this analysis of why this could be. It was posted by Amuse on Twitter. And if you are in the military, let me know if this makes any sense. But I saw a lot of people were commenting saying, yeah, this there's something to this, and this is pretty seditious if it's true. Amuse posted this. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth blasted disgraced Senator Mark Kelly for a botched ribbon rack and out-of-order medals. As one of the Seditious Six under Pentagon investigation, Kelly was warned any recall will begin with a uniform inspection. Kelly's rack shows several specific precedence order errors. His Defense Meritorious Service Medal and Meritorious Service Medal are pushed outward, while lower precedence awards like the Kuwait Liberation Medal, Southwest Asian Service Medal, and National Defense Service Medal sit in a more prominent inboard positions. On the ribbon bar, the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal and Sea Service Deployment Ribbon are placed ahead of higher precedence decorations such as the Air Medal and Navy Commendation Medal. Man, those are some long words. Sorry if I just butchered that. But going on the medal cluster below, the Legion of Merit and Air Medal are buried beneath service medals like the NATO Medal and National Defense Service Medal, which should be near the bottom of the stack. These reversals violate Navy precedence rules requiring the highest honors to appear inboard and for full-size medals to match the order of their corresponding ribbon. So, what is going on with Mark Kelly? Why is he doing this? This cannot be a coincidence. Mark Kelly knows he did that intentionally. He knows that what he is doing is out of order, and he is intentionally poking the bear of Pete Hegseth and the Department of War. Why? Because they want something where they can springboard off some sort of color revolution. They want something to point to in the midterms to try to take over some of these offices so that they can go after Trump and everyone who is in his administration. And this is some scary stuff. They are manufacturing stuff in real time, subtly putting out pictures of out of order medals and ribbons and stuff like that, having absolutely zero respect for the military. This is Mark Kelly. He should be court-martialed. Isn't that just absolutely disgusting? And then you have MSNBC, now called MS Now. They are crying over Pete Hegseth, who called out Mark Kelly, rightfully so, for displaying his ribbons and medals out of order. Take a listen to this.
Just a moment ago, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth responded to Senator Mark Kelly because Kelly put up a picture of his naval uniform. Right. And Hegseth is saying, so Captain Kelly, which you put in quotes for some reason, not only did your sedition video intentionally undercut good order and discipline, you can't even display your uniform correctly. Hegseth claims that the medals and rows are out of order. And he says, I kid you not, the Secretary of Defense says to a United States Senator and war hero, responding to this picture, he's an astronaut. Quote, when and if you're recalled to active duty, it'll start with a uniform inspection. Jesus. That is what the Secretary of Defense is focused on right now, saying he'll threaten the United States Senator, an astronaut, a veteran, with a uniform inspection in addition to potentially...
Oh, good heavens, no. You can't punish the good guy, the good officer, with a uniform inspection. Oh, by all means, please don't do that. Guys, these people are just... It's like, they just act like it's just such a disrespectful thing for Pete Hegseth to call out Mark Kelly for displaying his uniform incorrectly. Oh no, we're going to call him back and do a uniform inspection. I think Mark Kelly deserves a lot more than a uniform inspection. Taking part in this video, calling for military members and intelligence members to disobey orders of the sitting president. Imagine if this was something that Trump did. Imagine. Could you imagine? FBI, CIA would be bursting down his door. They wouldn't be waiting. They wouldn't be talking about, we're going to court-martial this person, and we're going to see if we can go through it. No, they have their judges in place. We saw this yesterday, what happened with Letitia James and James Comey. James Comey literally lied to Congress. Letitia James, we all know about her situation with the mortgage fraud and all these other things. And of course, she was part of an illegal plot to put Donald Trump in prison and all these other things. But the judge is Bill Clinton appointed liberal judge throughout their indictments. Just like that, just snapped her fingers. And it wasn't based on merits. It was based off of apparently some sort of error that one of these investigators was improperly appointed or something like that, which is nothing you ever see on the Democrat side. They can appoint whoever they want. They had literally Jack Smith in there going after some of these Trump people like a rabid dog, and he was improperly appointed. It was brought forward to judges many times, and judges never knocked it down. Even conservative judge, what was that judge in Florida? Was it Judge Eileen Cannon? Was that her name? Even she was very careful and meticulous about obeying the law. But when it comes to these liberal judges, they don't care. They're about politics. They're about making sure that their side wins, and that's pretty scary. And you see that with what's going on, some of these seditious six being corralled by the CIA to start some sort of color revolution. I'm going to end with this. PBD, he went on Jesse Waters as well. And this is what he had to say about the Seditious Six. And I think this is a very good comment by him. I don't think they're going to get away with this. I think they're trying. But at the end of the day, I think they're grasping at straws. And, while there's a lot of incompetency, I think, in the Trump administration, like people like Pam Bondi, I honestly, I don't have any faith in her. I think there are certain individuals that could be lashing back and that won't allow this to happen. But take a look at what PBD said about this video and his analysis of it. Take a listen.
I think normally they think they can get away with comments like this until they face a guy named President Donald Trump who sued and won money against George Stephanopoulos, YouTube, Twitter. How many other companies you want me to talk about that? He won so many different lawsuits about to go after BBC. They don't realize they're going after somebody that's probably going to hold them accountable. And Mark Kelly, obviously, thank you for his service. He wrote a long tweet today. It's very obvious he's writing the tweet in response to say, here's my resume. I'm sorry I said this. Don't come after me. I'm a very important patriot. I love America. And on the other side, Hegseth is like, you already crossed the line with the comments here. Just go read history with what happens with this. They crossed the line, and I highly doubt this administration is going to let this one go. I think normally...
And I don't think that they should. I think what these senators did is absolutely inexcusable. They know what they did. They know what the video implied to service members. And it's unnecessary, guys. Rand Paul came out and said that Trump's post about this video were reckless and inappropriate, irresponsible. I don't think so. I don't think Trump goes far enough because what he does is just words, He doesn't send anyone after these people. It's just all like rhetoric and words. I want to see heads roll. I want to see people get arrested because the American people are looking at this stuff and they're like, wait, so our leaders, our senators, our representatives, they can just do or say anything. They can goad innocent people into doing these types of things and they can just get away with it. I mean, we see people like J.B. Pritzker in Chicago goading, his police force and all of these other people into resisting ICE, not cooperating. And he's out here spewing this rhetoric basically against the federal government who is trying to clean up these illegal immigrants in our country. And he just gets to get away with it. He's putting people's lives at risk, not just physically, but their time that they're going to be spending in a federal prison if they get mixed up with resisting ICE or resisting the federal government. These are normal, average people who buy into this BS and they think they are doing something good and they go out there, they resist ICE, they get prison time, and it affects them the rest of their life. And what happens to J.B. Pritzker? What happens to Alyssa Slotkin and Mark Kelly if a normal, everyday, average guy in the military decides to resist Donald Trump? He's screwed. Yet they are cushioned. They have the money, they have the power, they have the connections. Nothing's going to happen to them, partly because Trump and Pam Bondi, they're not going to do anything. But we've seen this story time and time again. But I hope this time it's different because this is unprecedented what is happening with these 6 seditious senators. Yes. And I hope they face some consequences. I don't have high hopes, but for the love of God, wipe that smile off of Alyssa Slotkin's face. I'd be overjoyed. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.